Welcome to the Agent Leader Podcast. This is the podcast for independent insurance agency leaders to raise the status quo, to raise the bar on their level of thinking, and ultimately become their best version possible. My name is Brent Kelly. I am your host. I'm delighted to be here on this podcast episode, and even more delighted to have a guest that you probably have heard of this guest that I'll be bringing on today. I had the pleasure today of interviewing Chris Paradiso. And Chris, I even wrote down from your LinkedIn profile, insurance agency owner. I know you're a speaker. You spoke at our events before. You're an influencer and the Aaron Lewis of insurance, which I love that on your LinkedIn title. So Chris, without further ado, welcome into the Agent Leader Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, looking forward to this discussion. And I was talking to Chris a little bit before we hopped on. I said, I don't have a whole lot of prepared questions because you're pretty good at these things called conversations. So I'm looking forward to where this may go. I've got a lot of things in my mind that I want to ask Chris about. And I want to start with this, Chris. Let's I think most people at this point probably know you, but give me your 30-second, 1 minute, I don't know, go 90 seconds, whatever you need. Go wild on just a little bit of your background, how you got to where you are. And I would just say this, here's my question to end that part. What are you most excited about right now?
Well, I'm going to make it 30 seconds.
All right.
But I'm an insurance agency owner. I've been in this business for 20 plus years out of a very small town in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, which is a mill town, a working mill town area where grew up in not only in a working town, but a working family. And what I love about what we've done here at Paradiso is that we write in 44 states. So I had that vision that we're not going to be just the community outreach person, just the community agency. What we focused on with our brand guide is community and defining community, which is right there. It's America. So why I make that statement is because you'll see in any of our branding or anything that we're doing, whether it's Chris Paradiso or Paradiso Insurance, our community is the United States. We write in 44 states and we're not going to be limited like a lot of agencies. They don't have to be limited, but they choose to be limited. And that was something I've always dreamed of, is building this ship and building it where we're all around the United States. And we're writing risks in California and Florida and Texas and Alabama, the hard places to write. And that's just was a challenge of mine, and it's come true. And we're going to keep growing that. No fancy story, just, born and raised in a small town and, wanted to be really a social worker. And my dad says, you like to help people, do insurance. You can help people. You can be the social worker of insurance and make a really good income. And he was right.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I know you're a humble guy and you're out again across America, and obviously we've done with the agency. And again, you speak and teach and share so many things. So I think that idea of just the social worker and all this, it's like you happen to sell insurance, right? Or run an insurance agency amongst a bigger purpose. And the last part I asked, which I know I asked you probably 3 questions in one there, is
You did.
what's exciting you the most right now? I mean, because you've always got something going, which I find fascinating, but what's exciting you right now?
I truly love the intelligent agent. And I know AI is such an overused 2 letters, AI. And there's so much AI out there that they call AI and it's not even AI. It's just so much noise. And you know what excites me? The intelligent agent, it really excites me, that part of AI, because I see it helping people who despise technology. I have a lady that's been with me for 16 years. I consider her like my sister because she's been with us so long and she's like a part of the family. Stephanie hates technology. She says, you can take everything away from me. You just can't take the intelligent agent away from me. And I said, why? She says, because it makes my job easier. It allows me not only, people like easy.
Yeah.
I don't like that word, but people like easy, number one. People also like things that make them look better. And how she's utilizing this one tool is very different than how I have 30 or 40 other teammates using it. And it's fascinating to me because she was always the person, I don't want it. I hate technology. And when that thing is even being updated for 15 minutes, she loses her mind. And I love that because It assists her to be able to do a better job for our clients. And I found a piece of technology that she actually has put her arms around and she hugs it. She absolutely adores this and loves this tool, and it makes her better every day. And as she gets better, our agency gets better because we're better serving our clients. So that really excites me because I think it's in its infancy. There's just so much more this tool can do, and we're utilizing it like this amount. It's fascinating. It really excites me.
Yeah. Just again, you're right. I mean, AI is AI, AI. It's all over. It surrounds us. It floods our
Yeah.
minds. But you mentioned the intelligent agent. It makes things easier. Again, I'm sure there's many people listening to this that, some that go, okay, I've heard of that or something going on there. Maybe already use it. I know we've got some of our partners that use it and love it. Others might go, what the heck is it? So again, just so people know, because you mentioned that and it's what excites you right now.
It does.
What makes it different? What's unique about it? What should people
Number
know?
one, what I absolutely love for me, I love to be able to take a policy, upload it. It's closed AI, so I will caution listeners. Open AI, you're uploading anybody's policies of prospects.
Mhm.
We meaning I go into places that are public AI and we can pull people. Other agents are actually uploading. You should never upload a policy on open AI ever, because open AI means it's open to the public.
Right.
So,
Right.
and it within 20 seconds, it literally dissects that policy and tells me all of the areas and weaknesses of that policy. That to me is game changing because I'm the hunter. I like to go out and hunt.
Mhm.
It's also very good for the account managers who sometimes overlook things. We're
Mhm.
human beings, we make mistakes. But it's amazing how accurate AI is.
Mhm.
The tool is utilized only for insurance. So it's not an AI product where if you want to put in who's the greatest basketball player of all time, it's not going to answer it.
Yeah.
It's AI specifically for insurance. And I love that aspect. I also love, as a guy who loves marketing, it
Mhm.
does all of our blogs for us. We
Mm.
haven't written a blog. We haven't hired a blogger months upon months upon months because we've been on this piece of technology. It creates our within our CRM tool. It's creating all our email templates. So our marketing people are no longer spending time creating email templates. It creates, we'll ask it, and it will create 3 touch points when we just ask it for what we're looking for in about 45 seconds. The
Mm.
only thing we're doing is adding photos, which
Okay.
makes our marketing department more efficient. It writes better because we ask it to write it in an 8th grade level. Because when we're marketing, we're not saying people are uneducated, but we want to dumb it down. Insurance,
Yep.
what we found is we insurance agents talk over people's heads, and people are embarrassed to ask us to say, what does that mean? So dumb it down, and that's another fascinating tool for us that we absolutely love. Now, I could tell you 10 other things, but
Mhm.
those 2 things have been just instrumental. The policy, what we'll do is once we take what we quoted, we'll upload that to the policy that they have and
Mhm.
do a comparison. And within 2 minutes, minute and a half, it gives us the comparison, what policy is better and why. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Allows us to do a much better job a lot quicker.
Uh, I love. Well, you said it makes it easier, but she didn't like that word. But it makes it easier, and
I don't like easy because easy usually means lazy. And our minds just want to go that road. Our minds want us to go the easy road. And I'm not a guy that likes the easy road because I was taught as a young kid by my parents that the easy road isn't worth taking. Everybody takes the easy road. Take the hard road. It leads to better destinations. And it's just something that's been drilled in me all my life.
yeah, totally agree. I want to again, not that we have to go much more deep in AI, but what it means, because again, there's a lot of different things we could go there. But one of the principles we talk about all the time in working with agencies is that, technology isn't there to replace relationships; it's there to enhance relationships. And I think for some of the stuff you're talking about, Chris, is like, wow, it takes some of that away so that we can be better humans and have more engaging conversations and foster relationships. And I know you're a relationship guy for all the things that you do within the agency, in the insurance space, and even outside of the insurance space.
Can you repeat that? Because there's a lot of carriers that think that I love technology and I just want to get rid of people, which is totally opposite of,
Yeah.
if you read my post today on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
relationships matter. This is a people business.
Yeah.
And people keep throwing this technology is, technology will replace some people. Let's be honest. It already has.
Yes. Yes.
But I can assure you how our agency is using technology is not to replace people, is to enhance people's abilities to be able to be, you said better humans. I would say better communicators.
Mm.
What
I
we
like that.
don't do well,
Love that.
right? We
I love
always have to work on communication. Is there ever such thing? I always say there's no such thing as over communicating.
that. Mm-mm.
Communicate, communicate, communicate.
Yep.
My famous line on Twitter, it's really simple. Emails are for information. Phone
Mm.
calls and seeing people in person is for
Very cool.
communication.
Yep. Yeah. I reference all the time, and my book's behind me there, Chris. One of my favorites from John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell,
I
but
know you do.
one of his favorite books is Everyone Communicates, but very few connect. And just that title alone says so much, right?
It says
Like,
it all.
right? It's just, yeah, data, this, and so much of it is, well, I told them the thing. Well, they don't care about the thing. What does the thing mean? What's the emotion behind the thing? Why does it matter? How can you up level the thinking? How do you ask better questions? And I think
Absolutely.
setting that foundation technology allow people to do that at a much higher level. You agree?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agreed. I'm reading Nick Saban's book, and I'm probably gone rereading it 3 times in the last 7 days, and he keeps talking about, in our L10, we're on EOS and, the leadership team. I said, "We're so focused on the result of
Mm,
winning." But, Nick Saban would tell you that isn't the result. The real winning is focus on the process.
mm,
Because if you focus on the process and you're beat, you know what you have? A winning recipe.
mhm,
If you
mhm.
focus only on the result and the process goes wacky, at the end of the day, national championships will never be won. They're won by focusing on the process
Yeah.
because it's week after week after week. It's like sales call, sales call, sales call, sales call. Focus on the process. Don't focus on the result.
Mm.
It's powerful.
Preach it, Chris. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's in fact, I just had a conversation earlier, and it's funny. You mentioned Nick Saban, which by the way, I got to get that book. Now you've got me excited.
Fantastic. So
What's
many
the
golden nuggets.
yeah? What's the name of it?
I'm going to tell you right now the
Putting
name
you
of
on
the
the spot.
it's Leadership Secrets of Nick Saban, written by John Talty,
Okay.
Talty.
All right.
Fantastic.
All right, I love it. Obviously, he had some success, and I was mentioning. I said I'm a Big Ten guy. I live in Big Ten territory. Which I guess is coast to coast now. But I said, Kirk Cignetti with Indiana, who won this year, a
Yep.
Nick Saban disciple guy, or at least he coached Nick Saban, and it just goes back to I always say, you may or may not hit your goals, going back to results, but you're always going to rise or fall at the level of your standards, which comes back to the process. And that's when you hear things like whether we're up 40-10 or it's 10-10, we play the same because it's who we are. It's our identity. It's our standard.
Wait till he's an assistant coach is telling a story. They're up 45-3, and he Nick Saban always says, "We don't recruit backup quarterbacks. We only recruit the best." So there is no such thing as what they call a backup quarterback because he was always focused on recruiting the best, which is a
Wow.
mindset.
That
And
is.
they're up 45-3,
Wow.
and he's screaming because somebody didn't do something right.
It's
And
crazy.
you would think that he would crack a smile. He didn't crack a smile. Like he said, you practice the way you're going to perform in the game, and if you don't practice hard, who was famous for that? Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
You want hard nosed people who practice. You're gonna love the book. There's so many golden nuggets in there.
Cool. It's awesome. So let me ask you this, Chris. I'll just kind of transition a little bit.
Fire away.
I could talk leadership and this stuff forever because it's exciting, and maybe it'll lead into this question a little bit. And you could take this anywhere. Where do you see? I mean, just from your vantage point, obviously in running an agency, but you're out there speaking with agencies as well. What do you see as the major friction points? Like, why do agencies get stuck?
Well, I think there's different phases, and this is something that somebody asked, why aren't you on a lot of podcasts? Because I actually turn a lot of podcasts down because I think they're all like being mushed into the same conversations. Like, I think if you ask me the first 5 years versus the second 5 years
Mhm,
versus, 20 to 25 years out, I would give you different phases. Like,
mhm,
I help, I volunteer coach because I like to assist young, hungry agents. And one's out of Texas. And I had a great conversation. And he says to me, I'm on year 6. I just hit $60,000 of new commission revenue this month. And I was like, how does it feel?
Mm.
He says, it feels like I'm free. And I said,
Mm.
what did we focus on the last year? And you know what he said? Well, you had me focus on one thing, relationships. And the only thing we focused on is every single week,
Mm.
you're going to find a center of influence. You're going to take them to lunch, one per week. Every quarter, you're going to pull all these people together with some clients
Mhm.
and with some ideal prospects. They're going to bring some referrals for you. And
Right.
you're going to put on, for example, like he's an ag guy. He brings like basically a safety person that comes in and talks safety for ag people. And then I said, what was the biggest thing that you improved on? He says, finding the right client to speak at my quarterly event, because that client, when he speaks, he brings 5. He asked, you was said for me to bring 1, but can I bring 5 people? Because I think they need to hear what I have to say.
Mm.
And he's like, almost every one of these clients of the speakers are becoming clients that they're bringing in. And I said, so in the first 5, 6 years, I think you need to focus on relationships, not just relationships with prospects, but relationships with partners, carrier
Yep.
partnerships.
Yep.
And I would tell you that's one. What I would tell you if you said, hey, how does that 10-year person make that hump over that $1 million revenue, which
Mhm.
a lot of people will laugh at $1 million revenue, but the average agency in the United States is under 600,000 with 3 to 4 people. That's
Mhm.
the average independent insurance agent in the United States. And I would tell you it's leadership. They
Mm.
don't spend money on leadership. And there's 2 ways they do that. Number 1, they don't spend it on themselves. Stop going to industry associations and events and focus on leadership type conferences and or coaching.
Mhm.
Get out of the industry, get
Mhm.
into true leadership.
Mhm.
Attend true leadership, become a better leader. That is the number one reason when people say, Chris, how did you cross $10 million of revenue? I invested a tremendous amount of money in me becoming a better leader.
Mm.
And then I hired better people who were leaders and I invested in those leaders. Leadership is so underestimated. And
Mm.
as I was explaining to this agent yesterday, I said, this business is so freaking easy. It's easy. It's not a difficult business.
Mm.
And growing it now is not difficult. I'm investing in leaders, and those leaders are performing really well. But we're too cheap to invest in leadership. We don't
Mm.
invest in ourselves. He
Mhm.
said to me, hey, what's the biggest change you made in the last 5 years that helped you get over the hump? And I said, that's a great question. This is coming from the agent I was talking to. I said, I invested in something that I probably thought was for the weak people. And it turned out it was probably the best investment I made in the last 10 or 15 years. And that's a life coach. And
Mm.
this life coach is so focused. He says, you can't run your business if you don't run your household. So
Hmm.
if you run a really good household with your wife and your
Mhm.
children, and they are hyper focused because you're leading them, you can then go to work and be a good leader. But
Mm.
until you take care of the home, you can't take care of the business. And boy, he was so spot on. And first question he says is, hey, that is fantastic. And he says, I'm on the side of the road. I'm writing this down, but I got to ask a follow-up question. I said, great. He said, what's the first thing that was super successful that he recommended to you? I said, number 1, every single night, write down what your big win was for the day.
Hmm.
But more importantly, before you go to bed, write down what you're going to win at tomorrow.
Mm.
Because if you can visualize it, it'll happen. And if you think it, you better ink it. And he
Mhm.
kept saying that if you're thinking it and you ain't inking it, it ain't happening.
Mm.
And those were just, and then the second thing is meditation. It's played a huge role slowing things down so I can visually stay focused on how I see my agency
Mm.
moving in its future.
Mhm.
And I know some people are going to shake their head, and I shook my head. And I will tell you, writing that down, number 1, but just as important has been meditation in my life
Yeah.
for the growth of my business.
Yeah. Chris, that's so extremely powerful. And I just take a moment. I just want to echo what you said because About 2 years ago, I invested in personal coaching, not business coaching. And I found myself just kind of spinning all these things. And all of a sudden, you get a little more centered and clarity. And again, I want to get your perspective, but I was, as you were answering that question, what's the one thing or whatever that came out to me? It was 100% accountability. I started realizing that, yeah, there's certain things that happen in the world and in life, but like, I got to own me. And when you start to do that, it actually gives you power back
It's true
because,
freedom.
yeah, it's like, wait a second. Yeah, that kind of hurts, but also is really empowering.
Yeah.
Now I got some control back because I can own it, which hurts, but I can own it.
The more
So,
I hurt, the more I improve, the more I stay super focused and driven.
yeah.
And, you know, it almost sounds arrogant. And my wife says, "So what's next for you?" I
Mm,
said, "Anything I put my mind to." And I said, "I know unrealistically that people could say, well, I'm gonna jump over to Empire State." Well, you can think it, you can train for it just as you're training to dunk. It's never gonna happen because no
yeah,
human being could ever jump over to Empire State. I get it.
right.
But it's amazing on how disciplined you can become and
Mm,
how confident you can become to accomplish just about anything you visually see. And that's why I firmly believe that the difference between greatness, 20 years and on, it's all about grit. And you know what grit is?
mhm,
Grit is the combination of being, because motivation has an expiration date.
mhm, mhm,
Everybody's motivated at some time, but
mhm,
it expires.
mhm,
The next step to motivation is discipline. Very
mhm,
few people will kick in and have discipline, but the 1% of the one percenters take it from motivation to discipline to grit. And grit is having motivation, which then expires into discipline. But that discipline never expires. That grit is visually seeing that beautiful destination that you
mhm,
want to get to, that you're so infatuated with that no matter what gets in your way,
mhm,
waking up at 3:30 in the morning and not wanting to go outside because it's negative degrees,
yeah,
there's an ice storm, all these excuses
mm,
come into your head. But when you hit that grit level, because you are so massively in love with that I'm getting to this destination, Brett. I'm
mm,
going to get there. That's grit. And you know
mhm,
what gets in my way? Nothing. Because my mindset says, I'm getting to that island with or without you.
mhm,
That is grit. And very few people have that because they're not visually seeing themselves succeeding, whatever it might be, whether it's a marriage, because as much as it's personal, it's business, whether it's growing to be $100 million agency and saying, hey, I want to be in the top 50 in the United States.
yeah,
If you visually see it, that is so vitally important. Obviously, you got to put an action plan to get there. And then that grit, you fall so in love with that visualization, nothing gets in your way because no matter what you do, no matter how tired I am, I'm still going to be up. You are not going to get me to take a day off. You're
yeah,
not.
yeah. And if you're not following Chris, you'll see him up running at, 4:30 in the morning or whatever it is, and snow's coming down. There's even
I love
times
it.
I'm like, "What's he doing?" And it's like, but there's part of me going, "What am I doing?" And I think you sort of answered the question I was getting to is like, why do some people embrace that and others don't? And if I heard you right, it comes down to visualization.
It does.
Yeah.
You have to, that's where the grit is. And I think grit is defined a lot of ways, but I purely believe grit is when you passionately fall in love with that visualization of that destination,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I
Mhm.
want to become a doctor. Is it amazing on how they sacrifice? How about Navy SEALs, David Goggins? He visually sees it and nobody gets in his way.
Mhm.
Now, is he any different than anybody else? No.
No.
He's just madly in love with his visualization. He has grit above and beyond the average human being because he's willing to do what others aren't willing to do. Sacrifice, suffer.
Mm. Wow. So here's one thing I wanna ask you too. I think we all take pieces of people and experiences through our lives, and one of the things, Chris, again, you do such a great job of sharing things, and I love seeing stuff about your sister. I love seeing, of course, my condolence to you still with your dad who passed away. And maybe start with that because I know family's been so impactful. I see stuff of your kids. So you take pieces, from our parents and our siblings and our kids and of course community. What are some of the most powerful lessons? And maybe I'll just start with just your family. And
Yeah. So I'm writing a book. It's called The Civilized Savage. Where's the title come from? And there's a picture in back, and some people will see it and some people won't. There's a lion, and inside that lion is morphed as Jesus. And
Mhm,
Jesus was a civilized savage. So
mhm,
my father was a man who firmly was put here on earth, and he would tell you, I was put here to serve others, just as you are put here. He believed that.
mhm,
And he was a prosecutor. And one of the most powerful stories, I mean, he was my everything. He was my mentor. He was, I'm very opposite of my dad. My dad was very, very, very just, he moved at a very slow pace. I have ADHD at a massive level. If you see how many miles I do in a day, you would probably say, you're not normal. And I hear it every day,
yeah,
trust me, from my teammates.
yeah,
Um, and my dad was opposite. He was a man of very few words. He was like E.F. Hutton. When he spoke, you're
mhm,
listening. But he passed away, and one of the first people that stopped in to his office was a gentleman he put away for over 15 years. And he said, your dad was the prosecutor. And I was like, my dad prosecuted you. It's like, yeah, your dad taught me and took the time to explain to me, I'm a good person. I made a terrible mistake in my life. He said, and I'll never forget this. He said, your dad believed in me before I believed in myself. And I sat
mhm,
in a cell and realized a stranger who prosecuted me believed in me more than I believed in myself.
mhm,
And the day I started believing in myself was the day I started thanking Joe Paradiso, the prosecutor who put me in jail for 15 years. And when he came, he was crying, telling me that story.
mhm,
And he said, I now have kids. I'm now a good husband. I'm I'm taking care of the community. I'm doing things that do better for this world. And it was your father that taught me. And I was like, that's remarkable that before my dad was buried, a guy he prosecuted came to me to tell me,
mm,
my dad, your dad changed my life
mm,
because he took the time to talk to me and treat me like a human being. But he also was tough on me,
mhm,
but I felt the love through the message. That to me is a human being who lived a successful life.
mm,
He impacted people. And my
mhm,
father always had a message. Volunteerism and doing right only feels at the highest extreme of happiness at the time you can help somebody who can never repay you.
mm.
And that's why he was a special man.
Well, that's an incredible story. And I mean, it just kind of shows again, I mean, the pieces of you, Chris, that come from your dad, even though your personalities might be wildly different, the principles.
Servant's heart, man. I know people say, oh, it's one of the core values in our EOS that we run on,
Mhm,
a servant's heart. And one of the big things we have here is we want you volunteering. We want you giving back because I don't care what anybody says. They're better teammates. People that are givers are better teammates.
mhm,
People that are volunteering and let me and I'm not the guy that's going to write the largest check to a foundation. I
mm,
want to be the guy that actually moves other people to
mm,
get involved so we
mm,
can move a foundation forward. And I would always say your actions speak louder than your paycheck. You write that check is one thing. It's important, but more importantly than that, get involved and make an impact. Impact others. It's more important than writing the check.
mm. I would just clip all that out. We've got 3 or 4 foundational principles of leadership. Incredible stuff, Chris. And I just thinking too of just the idea. I mean, so many principles in the story of your dad as a prosecutor, but to see more in others than they often see in themselves.
Sure,
And also to care enough about people to tell them the truth.
sure. That's love. That's love. I have an accountability coach, and the number one thing we talk about when we do our annual review is how open and honest was I with you this week? So,
Hmm.
this is my 7th year with the same accountability coach who's
Mhm.
also in the insurance space, but I love him. And I tell him I love him. I tell him sometimes, hey, I'm about to tell you something because I love you. And when you fall short, I'm going to tell you, not out of a place of jealousy, not out of a place of, I got you, out of a place out of love. I want to see you succeed. Have you thought of this? Hey, you've come week after week and this is where you fell short. I got to be open and honest with you, bud.
Mhm.
You're not taking action. You're talking the talk, but you're not walking the walk. He does the same thing to me.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everybody needs an accountability partner. And I say accountability partner because I don't pay for an accountability partner.
Mhm.
I know some people say an accountability coach. You can hire an accountability coach. You're
Mhm.
better off finding somebody at your level who's going to hold you accountable. And we show up every single week. If you call me at 9 o'clock on Friday, Eastern Standard Time, you're not going to get me 9 to 9:31. That is our time that we're going to hold each other accountable. And we work off of something that is $44. It's Darren Hardy living your best year ever.
Yep.
It is the best $44 you will ever invest in yourself, ever.
Hmm.
I stopped sending books to people because when I check back with people after I've given them a book, no, I tried it for 3 or 4 weeks. Once again, motivation has an expiration date. Discipline needs to be kick in, and you better have grit if you want to get to that beautiful destination that you visually see.
Wow. Well, Chris, you ready for one last question?
Sure.
This is about you talking to you, and I ask this question on every single podcast that I have. So maybe you've heard it before, but let's just imagine for a second that the current version of you bumps into the younger Chris Paradiso, just kind of starting off in your career. And the younger version of you looks up at the current version and says, "Hey, I've only got a minute here. If you could tell me one thing that I should know now from your experience, what would it be? What advice would you give your younger self?"
Number one, invest in you, believe in you, hire a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach till the day he retired. And if Michael Jordan needed a coach, you need a coach.
Hmm.
Because none of us will ever, we can dream about being as good as Michael Jordan in
Yeah.
anything we ever do. And if I look, that would be number one. Number two would be do not listen to naysayers. I had teachers who told me I would never be able to read and comprehend. And I'm not criticizing those teachers. I criticize myself. I look myself in the mirror and say, you know,
Mhm.
don't let others change the way you think of yourself and the way they look at you. So they said I couldn't read and comprehend. At the age of 40, I
Mm.
ran into my dad pulled out a review. I was trying to get into Loomis Chaffee, which is a prep school. So
Okay.
you prep a year, it's a fifth year high school. And he saved it and he pulled it out. He said, "This always shocked me. This teacher said you would not only not read and comprehend, but you would never make it through college. I never showed that to you."
Mhm.
I said, damn it. But I allowed these teachers
Yeah.
to tell me something that I allowed them to convince myself I believe. So at the age of 40, I started reading. And I say reading, I mean, I read a minimum of a book a week.
Mhm.
I'm, I'm 53 next month. I have hundreds and hundreds, and if not thousands of books. You want a good book? You let me know what you're looking for. I'm not into the fluffy stories, the romance. I'm into leadership, bettering myself. I'm very siloed, but don't let others dictate what you can and can't do. And those are the two biggest messages. I think they really unite as one because it's believing in yourself, but it's
Mhm.
the whole floor and ceiling thing, as Matthew McConaughey talks about in Green Lights. Nobody is going to ever tell me what my ceiling is.
Mhm.
Only I am.
Ooh, that's good. I love it. I knew this would be a great conversation, Chris, and maybe we'll continue to have more because I have about 78 other questions I could ask you. But it does remind me, you probably heard this quote before. My favorite comes from Charlie Tremendous Jones. I think I have one of his books back there. He was a life insurance guy that did well and did speaking. And he said, in 5 years, you'll be the exact same person you are today, except for the books that you read and the people that you meet.
True.
And
So
just think
true.
about the expansion. It's like, man,
Patrick Bet David was also in insurance.
that's
Read
right.
his book.
Oh,
Probably my favorite book. Marcus Ogden, who's a good friend of mine. I know you know Marcus.
yeah.
And Marcus said, "Oh my God, Chris, that may be one of the best books I've ever read because it's
Mm,
something in my life. Choose Your Enemies Wisely is the name of the book by Patrick Bet David. And when you get behind it, I think back from when I was 11, 12 playing basketball, I always had an enemy. God had an enemy.
mhm,
Superman has an enemy, right? You think
mm,
about any superhero, they have enemies.
yeah,
Choose your enemies wisely. Not that you have to hate them,
yeah,
but you wake up every day saying, you ain't going to get me today, buddy.
that's right.
And just a great,
Right.
great, great read. And, you
That's
know, books, there are no secrets out there that aren't already written in a book. You just got to go find them. The secret recipe is in a book.
mhm. Yeah, it's there. You just got to go. You just got to go get it. And I have to laugh because you mentioned the dunking thing, and I don't care about that so much. Other than I have a guy that always gives me a laugh emoji every time I post something. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Yeah. And you know what? And you know what? You don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
That person's probably betting against you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
How many people are betting against you? Because unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of people don't want to see you win.
Hmm.
And I'm going to tell you something. I was one of those people as a youngster. You want to talk about a major flaw in me? When I was 30 years ago, I, I didn't want to see other people win. That
Yeah.
it's crazy. When you root for other people, it's amazing on what it does for you
Mm,
internally. We need to root for others. Even people I don't care for. You need to root for others, man. There's
yeah.
something internal about rooting for others. I love to see others win. I don't know why. I just love it. Now, if you're competing against me, I'm not going to root for you. I'm not going
Yeah.
to lie to you. I'm going
Yeah.
to, you want to compete against me. I'm good, but
Yeah.
don't, 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 I say this to my son all the time. Don't allow others to rent space in your head without without you charging them.
Right.
So root for others. Don't think of the negativity and rooting against people. All you're doing is you're really hurting yourself.
It's an abundance for scarcity. Typically, and again, if you're competing against me, I hear you on that. But like, it's the idea too of there's a level of your own insecurity that comes out
Yeah.
in that,
You know what
right?
I love most about your whole competition is your discipline. And you're
Yeah.
doing things that are very difficult. Like people might look at your calf raises and say, "Oh, that's easy." They don't realize one of the hardest things that I work on is stretching every day.
Hmm.
Stretching. You
Hmm.
know why? Because I'm not a patient human being.
I know.
And it takes patience. And, you want to go for 100-mile run? Let's go.
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
easier for me to do that than it is for me to stretch certain things. And I know I'm watching you do things with your knee bends and stuff on how slow you're going down and how you're stretching.
Mhm.
That people don't realize how hard that is. And I know how hard that is. And I got a smile and I showed my son, I said, this cat is going to do it. I believe in him. And I do.
Well, it's the journey, it's the challenge, it's fun. It's like it's anything, right? You can take that on, and what is that going to be? And I think again, so many lessons to take away, but obviously, like visualizing that goal. I know it's easy, but like, what does that look? Well, that's pretty amazing. The enemies, right? Who's betting against me? Okay, all right, let's
Don't you
see.
love it? I love people betting against me. I
And then
do.
there's
I smile. I actually get giddy about it.
well, Chris, again, thanks so much for being on here. I definitely want to talk with you further on here. You brought so much value. I know the audience is going to be like, man, that's nugget. I got a bunch of notes just on
And
leadership
how
and
much
principles.
insurance did we actually talk about?
I believe about none, or maybe just a little.
A little bit. But it's amazing on how if we refocus of the foundation of what comes down to leadership. Great
Yeah.
leaders. I don't care if it's selling insurance or running Jersey Mike's, which we were talking about. Jersey Mike's was a nothing. Everything was Subway. To think now, Subway is almost a nothing, and Jersey Mike's is everywhere. It's just funny, right?
Hmm.
It's all on leadership and just really, it's different. It's love podcasts that are hyper focused on becoming a better version and a better leader of who you are.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. That's why I want to have you on here because you talk that talk, you walk the walk around it, and it's about
Not
just
everybody likes that though, and it's okay because a lot of people don't wanna look in the mirror of truth, and I remind people the mirror of truth sometimes hurts, but you know what? The mirror of truth really loves you because if
mm,
you take it in the right form,
mm,
it's only gonna make your life better.
mm. Yeah, if you're willing to take that on, and it's something I share all the time, Chris. Does your ego get in your way of excellence?
Ego, edging God out is what my father used to say.
Just keep going. Well, Chris, hey, thanks. I know you're everywhere. Just for the audience, best place for people to find you, connect with you.
LinkedIn
Okay,
or Twitter, AKA X.
X.
Love
Yep.
it. I'm there
Yeah.
every day, either format. Somebody wants to email me, see Paradiso at paradisoinsurance.com. I'm happy to pick up the phone. I love to chit chat with other agents, and I hope somebody reaches out and we can have a pretty neat conversation.
Yeah, he won't say this, but I will. You'd be silly. I was gonna say stupid, but you'd be silly if you didn't reach out and follow Chris and connect with him because he's someone, as you said, principal wants to give back and
It's a great
learn.
industry.
Yeah.
Remember one thing about this industry, it's the backbone of America.
Mm,
And you know why? Because there isn't a town that you can't go into that there's not an independent agent that's not
right.
sponsoring a soccer, a
That's right.
basketball, a softball. I don't care what league it is. I don't care if it's church.
Mm,
We are sponsoring something. The independent agent is the backbone of
mm,
America, and we need independent agents to be strong, to support their communities, to keep America great.
yeah. I'm gonna end it there because that's awesome. Chris, thanks again so much. Wish you and the agent leader out there listen to this. Wish you all the best and success. Reach out to Chris. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.